This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No. Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Welcome to DBL. I'm Sam in for Tori, and we are beginning today with Sarah Jessica Parker. She says she keeps different kinds of sweets, like cookies and cake, in her house, so her daughters have a healthier relationship with food. She said she doesn't want them to, quote, have a relationship with a food that was antagonistic. Speaking of which, Valerie Bertinelli is on the cover of People, talking about how she's freed herself from body shame and has learned to indulge in food. She says, quote, I don't deny myself anything anymore and will eat pasta when she likes, rather than feeling shame about the calories. Now, it turns out that a lot of this same type of messaging is becoming increasingly popular in social media, with dietitians and influencers promoting hashtags like anti-diet or healthy at every size. Take a look.
Every time I pour a bowl of cereal, I'm reminded about the favorites I grew up on, which is why I'm partnering with General Mills. Honey Nut Cheerios were always my top pick, and that holds true today. As a registered dietitian, I will always advocate for fearlessly nourishing meals, including cereal, because everyone deserves to enjoy food without judgment, especially kids.
But now a new expose in the Washington Post reveals that big food companies like General Mills are pushing these anti-diet advice trends as a way to help sell their cereals and other highly processed foods. What do you all think of this? Erica, you got your little factoid.
I do, sitting in for Tori. General Mills spokesperson has come out and said the company complies with federal regulations and works closely with a variety of scientific, health, nutrition, and other credentialed experts to ensure we provide accurate evidence-based information.
From the company that brought you Cookie Crisp.
No, it's
cookies in a bowl.
No, remember it went Cookie Crisp.
Yes, that
remember
was my.
that?
I remember, like, that was my favorite cereal. And I was like, why doesn't everybody eat this? It was the best. It was just tiny cookie. They didn't even lie.
Because it's pure processed food and sugar.
Jeff, I don't know if you saw that when you watched that video, Jeff. Did you notice? I always look at like what they're showing you when that influencer was showing us the cereal. They showed a bowl, they showed a banana being cut up, then they showed the cereal for a second, and then a bunch of fruit and stuff being dumped over it. It's like they're showing it, but it looks different than it did in the 80s.
Well, do you keep do you keep cookies and cakes at home? Do you mindfully try to set almost like an environment of healthy eating with your children? How do you handle that?
Not so much. I mean, they eat like kids. You know, they're kids. They have snacks around. You know, there's always neighbors in and out, and they're snacking at other people's houses. But they're active.
Could you try again?
It's off too.
Chris,
I don't know.
that was Al's phone.
It's not even on.
All right.
Yeah, it sure is on.
I don't know. Okay, I'll turn it on.
Go ahead, Jeff. So snacks.
Yeah, but listen. Again, this is the same thing like when I have kids. Don't tell me how to raise my kids. I won't tell you how to raise yours or what to put in your mouth. Do whatever you want. You want a hashtag any size? Yeah, put in your mouth.
Okay, yeah.
Cereal.
Yes.
All right, we're there today.
Yeah.
Should we just cancel the show? Anyways, yeah, I forgot what I was saying. But anyways, they eat whatever the hell they want.
Okay. Boom. Erica?
You know, I was thinking about when I nannied in college, and I nannied for a few different families, and it was very interesting how different families had different rules and strategies for how they wanted their kids to eat.
So you kind of had a little case study.
Yeah, absolutely, because there was a particular family, the kids were 5 and 7, the little girl was 5, and I asked her, because her mother told her that she could have a snack before bed, and I asked her what snack she wanted, and she was telling me about basically complex carbs or like how many calories or something like that.
At 5.
At 5.
That's alarming.
And it was because one, I had never thought about that. Our food decisions were very much based on what our parents were providing that evening or that day. So my dad would make all of the meals, and if we had desserts and stuff, my dad would actually bake on Sundays, and then we'd have chocolate cake or whatever, or banana pudding on Sunday night, and then if there was leftover Monday, and that was the thing.
Cute.
So we never had Chips Ahoy and stuff like that in the house. But I always thought about that because I'm like, it made me feel like a little sad that she was even thinking about that at such a young age.
To your point, my daughter is 6.
I was going to ask, like, what do you do with your...
She has no idea what calories or complex carbohydrates are. And I know I'm speaking from a place of privilege because me and my genetics are naturally thin. So I will say that. My mom as well. But I grew up in a household, and I'm sure that plays a lot to it. That's why I do want to say that. But, you know, my mom just provided a variety of foods in the house. Yes, sometimes there was Chips Ahoy. Sometimes we would have sugar cereal. But for the most part, it was mostly healthy food. She cooked every meal. Again, that's another privilege because my mom was able to stay at home. And she never really talked about her body. She never talked about calories. And so I think I've never really had to do that either. And I think I now am modeling that to Sophie because I look back on it, not even aware. I don't talk about anything like that around her. So I think that's, in my opinion, that's kind of the way to go. Like, don't limit, because I feel like if I'm constantly saying no sugar, no sugar, no sugar, then she's gonna probably want sugar.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think we're talking about, you're talking about your dad and your mom, but I'm sure there are households where, like mine, where my mom was super healthy. I've always said my mom was doing quinoa in '89. She used to go to health food stores when people didn't know what that was. And it's so weird to see how global it is now. But, my mom was always on that, alfalfa sprouts in the lunch bag. And my dad was just like, let the kids be kids. And so, hey, you want a Butterfinger? Like, literally, like, giving it to me like it was illegal before I went to school. And so it wasn't to go against my mom. It was just a different ideology. Like, hey, let the kids grow up. And some people are like, they need to have their greens and their veggies. So obviously, Dad won that a lot. And so it took me a while I still have too much sugar. That's my real only vice.
See, that's interesting. Yeah, you do. I would say, though, obesity is on the rise. So what do you do if you notice that your kids are eating too much sugar or they're putting on weight, or someone you love, a nephew, a niece? That's their health. What would you do? What do we do?
I think sometimes genetics play a part in it. I can think of, my little brother, when he was growing up, he was like, I had a little bit more weight on him, but he's also now like 6'4", and he played football, in college and the combine and all of that. Like, his body just changed. So
what if your body doesn't change?
I know, but
here's the thing, though. I feel like if someone would have told him, like, you are eating too much, or if you're getting too heavy or whatever, what would that have done? Like, we don't really know sometimes. Sometimes you do know. Obviously, there are circumstances where you have to, like, moderate. But I think, like, I was very naturally thin to the point where my nickname in junior high and high school was String Bean. And then I went to college, and I started eating whatever I wanted. And that first quarter of college, I got so sick that I started realizing, like, my body wasn't used to all of the sugar and the carbs and stuff, that I naturally changed the way that I was eating so that I would feel better.
Right. Interesting. I know. We could have this conversation all day long. Coming up on DBL, we are talking all about parenting in America, why some think today's trends for raising kids are toxic, and a Howard grad who visited 93 historically Black colleges is sharing how she's helping others experience the legacy. Welcome back to DBL. It's nearly impossible to grow up without carrying some baggage from your childhood. And people on Reddit are sharing the toxic parenting trends that are popular with parents today. So let's see what we all think of these. We have not heard any of these. So here we go. Up first, fake gentle parenting. Basically, this is where you let your children do whatever they want and very rarely say no to them. Yeah, I feel like agree with that.
Jeff, you have thoughts on that?
No way. No way.
Yeah.
Get your child in check.
Isn't that crazy?
I think gentle parenting, the way I read it really quickly, is you are stern with your boundaries, but you also acknowledge their feeling. So I know it's really hard that you can't have that cinnamon roll right now. I'm sorry, but you're not going to have the cinnamon roll.
Right.
That's the way I always interpreted it. Yeah. Okay, up next, the believing the teacher ever, and always taking your kid's side, not believing the teacher and taking your kid's side.
This is my life. I've done thousands of parent-teacher conferences. And you would have it would not just be me, it'd be 6 teachers, the history teacher, art teacher, and be like, Erica's talking a little bit to Jeff in class. She says she's not. Oh, I'm sure she did. You know, but we have 6 adults, and it's so interesting, but I think it's more about the parent than the kid because they see you saying anything to their daughter as an attack on them. So a lot of times you're really talking to the parent through the kid. Unfortunately, we're just saying she's distracting people in class.
Well
Doesn't mean
said.
she's a killer.
Right,
She just needs to stop talking.
Yeah, and that's okay. How about making your child terrified to fail? Like, did your parents ever tell you you'd be stuck flipping burgers if you got a C in class? Do you remember any of this growing up? And then
No, my parents were always very supportive, right? And I didn't get the best grades, but they still tried to encourage me. They were never going to be like, you're going to become a loser. They never, ever, that never came out of their mouth. They were very encouraging. I try to mimic that as well.
I like it. Here's another one. Abusing the talents of your child to boost your self-image.
Oh, my God.
That has to do, I think, with a lot of, like, the gram, too.
Well, it's before the gram, Sam. Before the gram, like I was a kid who would call starting at like 6, 7 years old to get myself in like pageants, or if I wanted to, like, I would find things on the newspaper and stuff and be like, Mom, you need to take me here on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. And my mother is not like, my mother is an academic. She doesn't even think that way. And I remember being in so many backstages, and she would just be like looking at these parents who were like, and do it again. And like these stage moms, and my mom would be like, do you need a water?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like
so
this. I'm not like comfortable here.
I agree.
She did it because she loved me.
Yeah, but it came from you.
Yeah.
And the final one, helicopter parenting, not letting your kids roam about and go exploring.
Can I say something that might be bad?
Yeah, I think
you know,
have a little bit of that.
Well, no, not at all.
Oh.
I'm pretty hands off, but you know, being a comic, took my kids to the park every day. I didn't work until night, so I've been to thousands of parks in LA, and I saw helicopter parents all the time, and it really bothered me because I'm like, get off the play structure with your kid. You're on the drawbridge with your kid. Get off.
Yes.
And one time I was like just hating this one parent who was just like hovering over their kid that's like about to go down the slide, and the parent like backed up to take a picture and fell right off the back. There was no no railing. It was just like the heaven. Oh my goodness. Fell back like the nest he plunged because they thought there was a railing there. It was just gone right under the wood chips. I was like, that's what you get. You want to play? You want to play with the kids? Have at it, buddy. Let your kid go down the slide.
Helicopter parent? No.
No. It depends. My kids are different. The youngest one's super accident prone. So I am a little bit like, buddy, I don't feel like going to the hospital today. Could I just help you up, their thing? Because he'll crack his head and then it's going to be another 4 hours.
That's miles.
And stitches and this. No, I'll just help you up. Yeah.
Totally. Coming
I know
up
those kids.
on DBL, a Howard graduate is sharing how she's using her own experience at a historically black college to inspire others.
Welcome back. Elise Richards is a Howard graduate who visited 93 historically black colleges and universities as part of her mission to help other students experience the legacy. Earlier, we caught up with her. Take a look.
Please welcome to DBL, Elise. Hi.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, this is so exciting. So what motivated you to create the Experience the Legacy College Fair and visit 93 historically black colleges?
Yeah, so it developed while I was living in California. I lived in California for 5 years, and I just became aware of the HBCU community out there and how many resources and activities they provided their community. And it made me recall my own experience, realizing like I didn't have these type of resources and where I'm from. And a lot of students still did not know what an HBCU was. So that's what made me decide to create Experience the Legacy, to bring that HBCU experience directly to students from underserved communities who typically wouldn't have the resources or funds to go on an actual college tour. I wanted to bring that experience directly to them. And it was during my second college fair that I looked around the room and I noticed, like, I'm not familiar with a lot of the schools that are here. Like, I was familiar with most HBCUs, but not a lot of them. And it just felt disingenuous to me to encourage students to check out these schools when I myself didn't really know much about some of them. So that's when I added it to my bucket list that one day I'm gonna visit them all so that I can be a good resource for others.
Wow, good for you.
It's so innovative, and the idea of you doing this, because like back in my day, the way that I knew I wanted to go to Howard, but I wanted to go to Howard because I saw like Boys to Men on MTV, like on the Howard campus. So to bring this access this way, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, and speaking of Howard, you're a Howard University graduate. Congratulations. And while you were a student there,
Shout out to the Bison.
was there a time when you realized the value of an HBCU experience?
Oh yes, for sure. I remember, so I was the typical straight A good student. Like, school did not come difficult for me. Like, I breezed through classes pretty easily when I was in high school. And I remember getting to Howard's campus and matriculating through my coursework. There was one class that I realized I was struggling in, but I didn't really know how to ask for help because I wasn't used to struggling. And I just remember walking across the yard one day, and my professor, shout out to Professor Jipcat, she like hollered my name across the yard and asked me to come over to her, and basically invited me to her office hours because she recognized that I was struggling and that I was having difficulty trying to ask for help. So she proactively extended that help to me. And that's when I knew, like, oh, this experience is different. My teacher's looking out for me.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a numbers game anymore. They're personally invested, and that is awesome. A lot of people are familiar with historically black schools because of movies and shows like A Different World, School Days, and now the Freaknik documentary. How well has pop culture, in your opinion, represented the black college experience, and how does this impact the schools?
Oh my gosh, I know. So what's so funny is I'm a first-generation American, so I didn't grow up watching those shows because my Jamaican family didn't know about A Different World or what any of that meant. But it was after, I got put onto those shows that I realized pop culture actually did a really great job at reminding people and audiences about the impact and how transformational these schools are. I did appreciate how these shows depicted the rich and unique history and culture of HBCUs, the iconic events and movements in black culture that were born at HBCUs. I mean, not too long ago, we just had the greatest musical artist of our generation dedicate her entire Coachella performance to HBCUs. So I think they do a good job at bringing more visibility to these schools.
Well said. Well said. Thank you so much for joining us, Elise. And to learn more about HBCUs and how to experience the Legacy HBCU College Fair, visit experiencethelegacy.org. Well done. We'll be right back.
Very cool. Very cool.
Welcome back. Do you check the detailed report for your medical bills? If not, it might be time to start. A new Kaiser poll found that 1 in 3 adults have received a surprise medical charge in the last 2 years, and 65% are afraid they won't be able to afford them. So this got us thinking. Have you ever noticed a charge for something you didn't expect? I automatically thought about you and Jordan after she had the baby.
My wife is meticulous with keeping track of all this because of that.
Good.
They tried to double bill us for having a baby, and luckily she had the records to prove different. And even our HOA just sent us something, and they're like, here's a late fee for your February count. And I'm like, here's the check that they cashed. And so I sent it to them, and like, do you have the back of the check? Do you have the back of the check? Because you cashed it. Do I get to fine you $50 for being late? Where's my $50?
Seriously.
People take advantage, and this is the biggest scam, and it should be super illegal. Sorry I hogged all the time.
You're right.
Yeah, it should be illegal.
Absolutely right.
You're stealing money like the mafia.
I know.
Sorry we double billed you, and here's a late fee on top.
Hoping you don't notice it.
Yes, dirtbags.
Oh, if
stealing.
healthcare costs are one of your top concerns, Better Benefits can help when it comes to Medicare questions. Many Americans already on the program may not have a plan with all the benefits accessible to them. So reach out to Medicare Advantage advisors today. The benefits review is free. Call 800-909-2613. We love sharing your comments.
Sorry, I get fired up when people steal. I'm not a big fan.
No, it's not fair. I'm right there with you. Okay, in regard to parenting trends, Megan says, I tell my kids you learn more when you fail than when you succeed. Amen. In fact, you say that a lot too, Jeff. Relationships with food. Just Me says, balance and moderation, eat smart, but don't deprive yourself. Nikki says, I remember my mom doing Weight Watchers when I was growing up. She never made me feel bad about food, but just observing what she was doing had an impact on me. They say modeling, modeling, modeling. You could tell your kid till they're blue in the face to make sure they clean up after themselves or to be kind to people. But if you don't model that, they're never going to follow suit. So.
Right. Yeah, and it's tough because if you're a mom, you want to show like healthy eating, like that mom with Weight Watchers was, but the daughter still saw that her mom was kind of obsessed. So it's a hard thing for parents.
It is. Parenting ain't easy.
Well said.